In the early 20th century, China was a nation grappling with immense challenges. The streets were bustling with life, yet beneath the surface, there was a sense of unease and uncertainty. Traditional attire and customs were still prevalent, but the winds of change were beginning to blow. The once mighty Qing Dynasty had crumbled in 1911, leaving a power vacuum and a legacy of instability. The Xinhai Revolution marked the end of over 2,000 years of imperial rule, and revolutionaries sought to build a new future for China. However, the path forward was fraught with challenges. Warlords carved out their own domains, vying for control over a fractured nation. These warlords, each with their own armies, ruled their territories with an iron fist, leading to widespread violence and chaos. The map of China became a patchwork of competing fiefdoms, each seeking dominance. The economy was in shambles, and the Chinese people yearned for stability and a return to their former glory. Poverty was rampant, and the collapse of the economy left millions struggling to survive. Peasants, who made up the majority of the population, faced harsh conditions and uncertainty about the future. Amidst this chaos, two distinct political forces emerged, each with its own vision for China's future: the Nationalist Party, or Kuomintang, KMT, and the Communist Party of China, CPC. These parties offered hope to a beleaguered population, promising different paths to national rejuvenation. The KMT, led by Sun Yat-sen, advocated for a republican government and a program of national rejuvenation based on his three principles of the people: nationalism, democracy, and people's livelihood. Sun Yat-sen's vision was one of a modern, unified China that could stand strong on the global stage. The CPC, founded in 1921, drew inspiration from Marxist-Leninist ideology, advocating for a socialist revolution to overthrow the existing social order and empower the working class. The early leaders of the CPC were committed to radical change, believing that only a complete overhaul of society could bring true equality and justice. These two parties, initially united by a common goal of national unification and liberation from foreign imperialism, would soon find themselves locked in a bitter struggle for control of China's destiny. Their initial cooperation was marked by a shared desire to rid China of foreign influence and restore its sovereignty. Their rivalry, fueled by ideological differences and a relentless pursuit of power, would plunge China into a devastating civil war that would shape the country's fate for decades to come. The Civil War saw brutal battles and immense suffering, as both sides fought fiercely for their vision of China's future. The seeds of this conflict were sown in the tumultuous years following the fall of the Qing Dynasty, as China struggled to find its footing in a rapidly changing world. The political turmoil of the 1910s and 1920s set the stage for the epic struggle that would define modern China, a nation in transition, seeking its place in the New World Order. The Kuomintang, founded by Sun Yat-sen, a revolutionary who had played a pivotal role in the overthrow of the Qing Dynasty, emerged as a leading force in Chinese politics. Sun Yat-sen, often referred to as the father of the nation, was a visionary who sought to transform China from a feudal society into a modern republic. His efforts were instrumental in ending over 2,000 years of imperial rule, paving the way for a new era in Chinese history. Sun's vision for China resonated with many, a republic based on principles of nationalism, democracy, and social welfare. He believed that these principles were essential for the rejuvenation of China, which had been weakened by internal strife and foreign aggression. His ideas inspired countless individuals who were eager to see their country rise to prominence on the global stage. The KMT, with its emphasis on modernization and national unity, attracted support from a broad spectrum of Chinese society, including intellectuals, merchants, and military officers. The party's commitment to building a strong, unified nation appealed to those who were frustrated with the fragmented state of China, which was plagued by warlordism and foreign domination. The KMT's efforts to modernize the country included initiatives to improve infrastructure, education, and industry, which further bolstered its popularity. Meanwhile, the Communist Party of China, founded in 1921, offered a radically different path. The CPC emerged as a response to the growing discontent among the working class and peasantry, who felt marginalized by the existing political system. The party sought to address the deep-seated issues of inequality and exploitation that had long plagued Chinese society. Inspired by the success of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, The CPC, under the leadership of Mao Zedong and other early members, sought to ignite a socialist revolution in China. They believed that the principles of Marxism-Leninism could provide a blueprint for achieving social justice and economic equality. Mao Zedong in particular emphasized the importance of mobilizing the rural population, which constituted the majority of China's populace. They believed that the country's problems stemmed from class struggle, with the landlord class exploiting the peasantry. The CPC argued that only by overthrowing the existing social order could true equality be achieved. This message resonated with many peasants who had long suffered under the oppressive landlord system, and they began to see the CPC as a beacon of hope for a better future. The CPC's message of social justice and economic equality resonated deeply with China's vast rural population, who had long suffered from poverty and oppression. The party's promises of land reform and redistribution of wealth struck a chord with those who had been left behind by the rapid changes sweeping through the country. As the CPC gained support in the countryside, it began to build a formidable base of power that would challenge the KMT's dominance. Despite their differing ideologies, the KMT and the CPC initially found common ground in their shared opposition to warlordism and foreign imperialism, which continued to plague China. Both parties recognized that the presence of warlords and foreign powers was a significant obstacle to achieving national unity and independence. This common goal led to a temporary alliance as they worked together to rid the country of these external and internal threats. This uneasy alliance, however, would prove to be temporary, as the two parties' fundamental ideological differences and competing visions for China's future would eventually lead them on a collision course. The KMT's focus on a nationalist, capitalist-oriented republic clashed with the CPC's vision of a socialist state. As tensions escalated, it became clear that a power struggle was inevitable. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies, a battle for the soul of a nation yearning for stability and a new era of prosperity. The ensuing conflict, known as the Chinese Civil War, would shape the future of China and determine the direction in which the country would head. The struggle between the KMT and the CPC was not just a fight for political power, but a contest over the very identity and destiny of China itself. In 1923, driven by a shared desire to unify China and end the rule of warlords, the KMT and the CPC formed the First United Front. This historic alliance marked a significant turning point in Chinese history, as both parties set aside their differences to focus on a common goal. This alliance, facilitated by the Kuomintang, Communist International, aimed to combine the KMT's military strength and political influence with the CPC's growing grassroots support, particularly among the peasantry. The Soviet Union played a crucial role in bringing these two ideologically opposed groups together, hoping to spread communist influence in Asia. The United Front brought a period of relative stability and progress. For a brief moment, it seemed that China was on the path to modernization and unity. Infrastructure projects were initiated, and there was a sense of optimism in the air. The KMT, with Soviet aid, established the Whampoa Military Academy near Guangzhou, training a new generation of officers who would later play significant roles on both sides of the Civil War. This institution became a breeding ground for military leaders who would shape China's future. The CPC, while maintaining its own party structure, joined the KMT as individuals, using the opportunity to spread their ideology and build support within the KMT's ranks. This strategic move allowed the communists to gain influence and recruit members from within the KMT. However, beneath the surface of this uneasy alliance, tensions simmered. The cooperation was marred by mutual distrust and conflicting ambitions. Both parties were wary of each other's long-term goals. The KMT's right wing, suspicious of the CPC's ultimate intentions, viewed the communists as a threat to their power and influence. They feared that the CPC's growing popularity among the masses could undermine their authority. Ideological differences, particularly regarding land reform and the role of the peasantry, further strained the relationship. The CPC's push for radical land redistribution clashed with the KMT's more conservative approach, leading to heated debates and growing animosity. The fragile unity of the First United Front would soon be shattered, plunging China back into the abyss of conflict and setting the stage for a protracted civil war that would last for decades. The initial hope for a unified China was replaced by the harsh reality of internal strife and bloodshed. the dream of a unified and prosperous China for now remained elusive, overshadowed by the specter of growing division and mistrust. The legacy of the First United Front serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities and challenges of forging unity in a nation as vast and diverse as China. Section 4. The Northern Expedition, a march toward unity marred by growing tensions. In 1926, the KMT launched the Northern Expedition, a military campaign aimed at defeating the warlords who controlled northern China and unifying the country under its rule. The expedition, led by the charismatic KMT general Chiang Kai-shek, initially enjoyed significant success, capturing key cities and gradually expanding the KMT's control northward. The CPC played an active role in the Northern Expedition, mobilizing peasants and workers to support the KMT's advance. Their efforts, particularly in organizing labor unions and peasant associations, contributed to the weakening of warlord control and the spread of revolutionary fervor. However, the expedition also exposed and exacerbated the growing rift between the KMT and the CPC. As the KMT's power grew, so did the influence of its right wing, which viewed the CPC's growing popularity among the masses with increasing alarm. Chiang Kai-shek, once an advocate for cooperation with the communists, grew increasingly wary of their influence and began to see them as a threat to his own ambitions. The stage was set for a dramatic rupture that would have profound consequences for the future of China. Section 5. The White Terror Seeds of Distrust and the Collapse of the United Front. In 1927, the uneasy alliance between the KMT and the CPC unraveled, plunging China into a period of violence and repression known as the White Terror. Chiang Kai-shek, consolidating his power within the KMT, launched a brutal crackdown on communists and suspected communist sympathizers, primarily targeting urban labor unions and peasant organizations. The Shanghai Massacre, which began on April 12, 1927, marked a turning point in the relationship between the two parties. KMT troops and gangsters loyal to Chiang Kai-shek unleashed a wave of violence against communists and workers in Shanghai, resulting in thousands of deaths and effectively ending the First United Front. The White Terror spread throughout KMT-controlled territories, driving the CPC underground and forcing its members to flee to the countryside. This period of brutal repression left a legacy of deep distrust and animosity between the two parties, paving the path towards all-out civil war. The dream of a unified China under the banner of the First United Front lay in tatters, replaced by a bitter struggle for survival and dominance between the KMT and the CPC. The Chinese Civil War, though not formally declared until 1946, had effectively begun.